I, Philip Joseph Pierre.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
Basel 11 has not been in existence. 50 was...
Giant getting bazooka. You spraying big on to knock out mosquitoes.
I have never had a joint account with anybody in my life. Not my ex-wife, not my children, nobody. And I will refer that to the privileges committee.
What about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in taking...
What people become Prime Ministers in Lucia have been the most ready.
Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
We've been doing this every Wednesday since 1997. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of NewsMaker Live right here on DBS television with me, Timothy Poleon. We go up until 10 o'clock this evening, at which time we conclude with the clip that peaked. Here is what we will not be discussing this evening: politics. So my guest is not a politician. As a matter of fact, he is a law enforcer in the person of acting ACP, Mr. Stephen Victorin, who is the officer in charge of the Southern Division. Welcome to the broadcast, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on NewsMaker Live.
Thank you very much for having me, Timothy, and good evening to St. Lucia.
What is happening in the southern part of the island as far as your work entails? And when talking about the south, you're responsible for what? Police stations over in Vieux-Fort, in Choiseul, in Labrie, Soufrière, and I'm told now canneries.
Yes, Timothy. As of June 1st, 2026, the Canneries Police Station has been added. It has been annexed to the Southern Division, which now makes that space from Miku to canneries. So it's a wider area.
Why was canneries added?
Okay, so the rationale was that canneries tend to present similarities to the Soufrière area. So the resources, or the two areas, were merged, that canneries would now be under the command of Soufrière Police Station, that those two stations could work together to better manage what is happening in that through that corridor.
But how does the workload affect you as the officer in charge?
So it is additional work, but I believe no challenge comes which is not meant to be handled. So I've accepted it graciously and have mobilized the team, has had some interaction. In fact, we have had successful operations in canneries that the people of canneries have welcomed. In fact, they expressed during that operation that this is something they would definitely like to see happen within canneries.
What is the difference between policing in the north compared to the south? Because I think you have also worked in the northern part of the island as well.
Yes, prior to assuming command of the Southern Division, I was responsible for the Northern Division, which extends from Gros-Islet in the north across the east coast, Babono, into Richmond Dennery. So the difference is, the south is less of a commercialized space as compared to the north. Additionally, you have a number of units and departments within closer proximity in the north as compared to the south. So the south may seem a bit isolated, if I may use that phrase, as compared to the north.
We have what is, I could best describe as a calm. Can we describe it as possibly an uneasy calm now because of what transpired in the south, Vieux-Fort in particular, in 2013? Because in March of that year, there was one particular instance between a Thursday and a Friday in that month. You had 7 homicides, 7 killings, fatal shootings occurring. Explain to us the kind of calm that we have in Vieux-Fort right now. How would you characterize it?
Okay, I would characterize it as a calm which has been realized from collaboration between the police and the public to have dealt with the situation which existed, so took action, pursued the bad actors, presented them to the court, and the court has taken certain action which now has contributed to that calm. I'm not saying that the action of the court is all which has had us realize or had us realize the calm. The work of the police continue in the South in that continuous engagement with members of the public to deal with any situation which may arise among the groups which may cause some violence to re-emerge within VA4.
But how do you ensure that this calm is sustained? Because I think we've had that experience in various parts of the island where there would be a calm and then there would be a flare-up. I don't know what we could attribute this to. Maybe the lack of police presence, maybe police and law enforcement getting a bit complacent, and then you have a flare-up that the police find some difficulty in containing.
Yeah, so the measures we've taken and continue to employ is that we, like I said, we continue to have the engagement with members of the public. We understand that a lot of the incidents of violence arise from rival groups. So what we do is to continue to monitor what is happening within those communities and act expeditiously before it gets to a stage that, well, ends in violence.
But what obtained before? I don't think you would have been the officer in charge then.
No, I wasn't. I mean, during that time, I was within the Northern Division.
But from your experience, do you think it is a case where things are happening right under the nose of the police, and the police tend not to be sufficiently proactive? Because I'm sure that people will be complaining about certain things, but the law enforcement would not consider it to be that serious to warrant their intervention. And then all of a sudden things erupt and get out of control, particularly in the southern part of the island, resulting in things being so complicated that the authorities had to seek assistance from the Regional Security Service.
Well, you say complicated, I realize you use the word complicated. So law enforcement can be complicated because the police remain ready and open to receive information and to act. Oftentimes, the police tend to be the last to know. I have maintained that any information which comes forth, we must act expeditiously, because a problem not dealt with will only spiral out of control and become chaotic. I have learned that, and my approach is to deal with any situations which comes forth expeditiously to avert a worse situation.
But isn't it the job of the police to always be aware of what's happening within their sphere of activity, their sphere of operation?
Yes.
Yeah, so
we appreciate that, but understand that the bad actors do their best to keep the police out of the loop. We continue to attempt to gather intelligence, keep in touch as to what's happening, but of course you'll appreciate that the opposite side do their best to keep us ignorant.
And do they succeed?
Relative, no, but I believe, I'm confident that we have made significant strides, and we continue, as I said, our best partner are the customers whom we serve.
And the customers, are they always, do they always have confidence in the police? For example, what transpired in VA4, can be considered as unprecedented. People would have lost some of their confidence and their trust in the police because people are very close to them, family members, grandmothers, daughters, sons. I mean, in one case, you had a toddler who was a victim of that gun violence. I mean, how do you ensure that they move from being pessimistic, not trusting the police, not having confidence in the police, to about 3 years later, all of a sudden, you expect overnight that they will certainly just have this change in attitude towards the police?
Definitely, I don't expect that it will change overnight, and I don't expect that it will happen just by us sitting in an office. Policing really is about engaging people, being out there. In fact, my opinion is 10% of the time should be spent at the office, and 80% engaging the people, understanding the ground that we work. I believe that is the ideal for the police, to be out there, engage, and gather information to reassure, take action to reassure the public that we are here to act expeditiously in the interest of creating a safer environment for ourselves and other members of the public.
And that's where community policing comes into the picture.
Definitely.
And I think for several years now, I've been hearing about community policing, etc., that's being promoted by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. I don't know if the police has been sufficiently effective in that particular initiative, in ensuring that it is a success, because people still do not have confidence in the police. And I have not conducted any survey on this. People are still saying that they do not see the police. Earlier on, you just made reference to the time of the police. At least, 10% should be in the office. The other 9%, I imagine, will be underground. But people continue to complain, whether it's nationally or I'm sure that.
The police.
But officer, if so many people have that opinion, you think that they are wrong?
So you say so many, Timothy. Often is those who express satisfaction and confidence in the police. I have engagement with many members of the public, and I can tell you they express great satisfaction in the work of many of our police officers. So that's always the case. Bad news travels far and it gains momentum.
You really think that's the case? Because
Absolutely.
I don't share that opinion, because in an environment where, for example, you have social media, you have so many talk shows and so on, I cannot imagine that if you have satisfactorily served a member of the public or a significant section of the St. Lucian society, that they will not feel compelled, if you are Big Bash, to come forward and to say that they got good service from you. I mean, it does not happen often, but one thing is certain, that there is one particular service provider in St. Lucia which stands out. People readily would call and defend that particular business establishment. I'm sure you will not argue when you hear people say that the 90% they have confidence in the work of our electricity company, Lucia.
Right.
Yeah, we've heard that. And they say something else about the other companies. Right? So I think I could take the risk and say that if people are satisfied in the work of the police, I think they would have been voicing that satisfaction wholeheartedly and vociferously as well.
Right. So again, I maintain my position that there are many people who are very much satisfied. And what you find is that those who are satisfied, they come forth, you hear them once. But the criticism, like I said, it gains momentum as compared to the praise. I'm not saying that there aren't criticisms, and one criticism to me and the entire Royal St. Lucia Police Force is one too many. So we accept that there are criticisms, and we are much willing to work to correct that, to realize zero criticism and all praise. But I remain steadfast that we do have a number of citizens who are satisfied. Just this week, I had engagement with a lady who had a contrary opinion, or who had a similar opinion as you expressed. For years, she had been critical of the police. But over the past, I would say 2 months, engagement with her, her family, her community, and she visited my office and expressed great pleasure and satisfaction in the interaction she had had with the police over that 2-month period, as against technically the rest of her life. So there is hope.
But how do you change the mindset of somebody who's watching the broadcast or listening to the broadcast from the south of the island, who believe that it's a waste of their time calling the police to report, let's say, a burglary or any other incident that warrants the intervention of the police, because they believe that nothing will come out of it? Number one, they'll be put on hold, and number two, they'll be told, irrespective of the national security and finance minister saying that they continue to provide vehicles to the police, that we will be hearing that the police have no transportation. What do you say to those people?
Okay, so I say to the south of the island, in fact, the same applies to all of St. Lucia, that if you call a police station and you're not satisfied with the service, there are officers beyond that individual who sits at that front desk. Reach out to someone beyond. There is also the emergency line. There is the police hotline. You can make a complaint, express the concern, and it will be channeled to someone who will ensure that the service that you well deserve is delivered.
And you have full confidence
That is
in the quality of the service being provided by your men and women in the south of the island?
I am confident.
To what extent there's need for improvement? And especially at the level of the community policing that I think you are trying to promote, particularly in the south of St. Lucia.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. In fact, I operate by a mantra that best is only for the moment. You realize your best, and as soon as it's realized, it's no longer the best. The bar has to shift. So whatever work we have achieved, I don't take that to be that I'm supposed to become complacent, and I request or insist on the same from my team, that we need to continually improve. It's only when the customer is satisfied that we can say that we've truly realized our objective. That if someone comes for service, if you're not able to provide exactly what the customer wants, you are supposed to provide some guidance or some direction, some referral that they can receive the service that they require.
There is an incident which occurred in the south of the island, Auger to be exact, Auger earlier this month. And it is a woman who has complained or reported a home invasion. And she's claiming that at least her home was invaded by about 4 men in the wee hours of a particular morning earlier this month. We'll listen to that clip in just a moment, compliments of Hot TV. But she also made a claim that the men, or probably one of them, shouted the police, and they were demanding that they be allowed into her home. We'll explore this in just a moment, but let's listen to the clip of that woman referencing her ordeal.
someone said to me, this is the police. And I said to him, what did I do? They said they come for a search. And I said, but I've done nothing wrong. How come the police want to search my house? And before I knew it, they burst open into the door. At the same time, there was a young man who was wielding a cutlass. And when I saw that, he grabbed me. And when he grabbed me, I grabbed him at the same time. And I jumped outside. And he tried to chop me. And my hands is chopped all right now. I have several chops in my hands. I cannot even shift my pinky finger because it is unable to bend forward. He dragged me into a field of potatoes.
This clip is compliment of Hot TV. What is the latest regarding this particular investigation, this incident, sorry?
This matter has been investigated thoroughly. Individuals have been charged, presented to the court, and mostly remanded in custody.
How many individuals?
So a total of 3 individuals charged.
3 individuals were charged.
Correct.
When was that arrest made?
The arrest, so by the Wednesday, the incident happened on a Monday. The arrest started from the Wednesday into the Monday following.
Okay, and then they were charged.
Correct.
All right.
Well, the charges started, I mean, those who were arrested earlier were charged before the one arrested on the Monday following.
How do you deal with this particular issue when, for example, people are claiming that they are the police and demanding that the premises of somebody, any member of the public, because this is not the first time that this has happened. And unfortunately, I don't get the impression that this has sufficiently impacted the police or caused them much concern to want to address and come forward and to say to the public, this is what you do when somebody is claiming to be the police, this is how you should address it, this is how you should react. The police, I think, in the main have remained quiet on this. And for me, this is shocking.
On the contrary, Timothy, it's very disturbing. One, we've been speaking of the confidence that the public has in the police, and this definitely does not contribute to reassuring the public that when they receive a call or someone proclaims to be police, that they could safely surrender or allow police access into their home. It is sad that this happened. I can tell you the operation of the police in those circumstances, if they approach premises to conduct a search, technically you cannot call someone on the phone and say, we'll be visiting your house to conduct a search. The element of surprise, if I may use that term, must exist. So the police will approach the property, of course secure the property for the safety and the safety of the occupants, and make the declaration that it is the police. And also declare that the police is in possession of a warrant to search your premises, and require or request that you allow the police access to the property. If access is denied, the police is justified by the power of the warrant to gain forceful entry into those premises. Like I said, by the power of the warrant. So technically, I mean, the one thing I can suggest at this point is that we as police officers, if we approach a premises, my best approach, maybe someone who's familiar, a police officer who's familiar with someone within those premises, that you're the one who make the declaration and can declare that I am ACP Victorin, you familiar with my voice, convince that individual.
I could see some trouble there because, I mean, incidents of that nature are not unique to St. Lucia. They have also happened in a number of Caribbean territories. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago is famous for that, as well as Guyana and Jamaica and so on. But I could imagine that you were woken up by this voice asking you to open up, and this is the police. And you know there have been other incidents where people appearing or posing themselves as police officers falsely. And how do you react to this? I cannot imagine that you'll be able to readily identify this particular individual, this police officer. Not everyone, irrespective of the police operating in one community, not every individual will be familiar with that police officer or the police officers, the squad of police officers who are on duty. So I could envisage down the road there will be some problem in terms of how should members of the public react and how should the police react as well.
Because one concern I have concerning this Timothy is if members of the public now become more resistant to such a proclamation that it is police, and they decide, well, based on what has happened before, I need to put up some resistance, which does not present a favorable outcome. So it is concerning, and I can tell you it will be a subject of discussion for the executive towards setting policies and guidance as to how we can deal with the situation.
Now, why in the aftermath of somebody falsely posing as themselves as a police officer that we did not hear any reaction from the hierarchy of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force regarding this particular incident? Because it is a serious one. It's very serious.
Yes, it is serious. So, okay, so I'm here now, and it's an opportunity for me to express categorically that those were not police officers, because from the time this incident occurred, we employed or exhausted every resource towards pursuing those individuals, because I can tell you by the following morning, teams were out pursuing or having interviews. The community provided much information. I must thank the community of Auger for the information they provided towards bringing this matter to a speedy resolution. So the police, from receipt of that information, pursued the suspects and was able to locate and apprehend 2 of those suspects the day after.
Now, in every profession, you have bad elements. You have bad actors and so on. It ever, in such instances, ever occurs, because you want to be as honest as possible, as fair, as dispassionate, it ever occurs to law enforcement, senior officers, that maybe it might be a police officer, a rogue cop, might be doing that? No?
Based on the witness account presented by the victim, there was no reason for us to believe that it was a police officer.
Okay.
She was able to provide an account, and definitely there was no inkling
This incident,
in our mind.
This incident on the whole, and generally speaking, how has this affected the residents of that particular area, the community, O'Shea community?
I expect that such an incident would have the community a bit flustered, but the reassurance is that the police has acted, and those bad actors are no longer out in the public to create any more mischief.
Let me know, in terms of this particular incident as well, was the house isolated?
The house was a bit isolated.
Okay.
Yes.
Because she kept saying that she screamed and she put up a fight. I was wondering, just listening to the story, I was wondering whether there were any houses close to her own residence that could have, at the time, provided her with some level of assistance.
Well, based on the information coming forth, the house was a bit isolated.
Okay. What are the main crimes that are occurring in the south of the island?
Main crimes. So we have property crimes.
Okay.
I would say property crimes. I mean, you also have, in fact, people don't commonly think of those when they think of crimes, but the threats are most frequent. Because we've gotten to a society that, I mean, we're a bit aggressive. We've gotten very aggressive, so you have threats, or basic assaults, they happen frequently. And property crimes, some stealing, burglary to a less extent, except that over the last few months, we had a few incidents of burglary and aggravated burglary, more than usual.
And you mentioned that people are more aggressive. What do you attribute this? I again, without a survey being conducted or any kind of study, I think that this is true. But what do you attribute this to? The aggression that you made reference to?
I think, my opinion, I'm expressing an opinion. I believe we have become less engaging, social, that we don't speak out our problems, speak over it, seek resolution.
Do you think it's a case where people believe that they can commit crimes and just get away with it? They can lash out and get away with it. It could also mean as well that people don't have confidence in the police, so they take matters into their own hands.
Okay, so the confidence.
Right, because people saying, if I report this to the police, it does not make sense. Take, for example, what you made reference to, threats. In this society of ours, we take threats lightly. Right? I am going to kill you. To some people, does not mean anything at all, other than the one who's on the receiving end.
Right.
All right? I'm going to kill you, report this to the police. I don't think the police act quickly or hastily or eagerly. People are telling you that police don't take the threat seriously, but if you tell them that there's a container of drugs somewhere, there's a container of drugs somewhere, and this is a very serious issue. I just find it, the humor in it. You tell the police, drugs, container of drugs somewhere. Police automatically, siren is blaring. I don't know why. But that is the perception that people have of the police.
Okay, so Timothy, to answer, as I expressed earlier, if a problem is not dealt with when it's at its infancy stage, it will balloon into a bigger problem. So contrary to public perception, we take the threats very seriously. What you often find is that individuals who come and report threats often ask, the intervention they request is a warning. Because when someone approaches the police, they are presented 3 options as to how the matter can be handled. So you have the option of making a report, that it be documented for future reference. You have the option of requesting that the police engage the accused and issue a warning, or you have the option of proceeding to court with the matter. Often enough, for the threats, people ask to be issued, for a warning to be issued on the accused. We take those very seriously. In fact, the sooner we deal with it, is the less likely the threat is to amount to an assault, and worst case scenario, what we always seek to prevent, a loss of life.
What about instances where, because this has been said to me, people they go to the police, they seek the intervention of the police because of a threat that's been made, and the police would say to those people, the one who's making the complainant, that solicit the intervention of your attorney. It has been said before.
Okay, so that's definitely not our protocol, because I just expressed to you what our protocol is.
Let's put it this way.
And if that were to happen,
it ought not to be.
It ought not to be.
Mhm.
And if that were to happen, again, I reiterate that if you're not satisfied with the service at the reception desk, there are supervisors all the way to myself within, for example, the headquarters in VA4. My office is always open to receive any member of the public on any issue.
Can a threat result in somebody being arrested?
Definitely, Timothy. Because it is a criminal offense. Based on the gravity of the situation, the police may resort to arresting. It does not have to be brought to the court through an arrest. There is always the option of lodging a criminal complaint before the court. But arrest is a possibility. And one of the reasons, even though you may decide to produce it by complaint, the law now requires that before someone can give identification evidence in court, that an identification procedure must be conducted during the course of investigation, and that would require the person to be brought into custody for that procedure to be conducted. So very more likely than not, if that matter has to proceed to court, there would have to be some arrest, whether just for an hour, released and continue by the complaint, or if the individual is charged and proceed by bailing that individual. So more likely than not, there would have to be an arrest if it is to proceed to court.
The fact that you're making reference again to people being a little bit more aggressive, do you, as a police, do you also encounter that kind of, experience that kind of aggression on the part of people that you encounter whilst in conducting investigations or effecting an arrest?
Yes, and one of the things I noticed, in fact, after arrest, the arrested individuals express that one of their habits is drug use, and certain drugs that they use contribute to their aggressive posture. So yes, the police does encounter aggression.
Does that aggression automatically lead to aggression on the part of the police?
Definitely not. So here's another one of my mantras. Aggression breeds aggression. We are trained to be tactful. We are trained to de-escalate. And that is what is expected of a police officer at the first instance. And if it is, that force has to be used. It has to be from a stance of the least amount of force and escalate as is necessary. And that is what is required by law to be able to justify the use of force.
But some people are accusing the police themselves of not being tactful. The same thing that you made reference to. Police are trained to be tactful and learn how to de-escalate. Some people are claiming that, to the contrary, the police are the ones very often who are the aggressors in terms of how they approach members of the public. I'm sure that you have heard this before. But speaking generally, without pinpointing and trying to cast blame or painting all police officers with the same tar brush, is there a need to address this from the perspective of members of the public?
If there is a complaint, Timothy, in fact, it's similar to someone coming before the police and making a complaint of them being violated. Same thing, if there is a complaint against the police, we take it seriously and seek to address it.
Yeah, but sometimes warrants what the intervention of the police complaints body?
It depends on the request of the individual. If you come, for example, you come to the police station and you express that you had an encounter with that police officer and you're dissatisfied with the service or the way the service was rendered to you, you have the option, I spoke of the supervisors, up to myself. So you can request that this individual be spoken to.
But this is Senator. We know that very often those investigations drag on forever.
when it involves a member of the public lodging a complaint against a police officer, or probably if it's a senior police officer, the process becomes even more drawn out. And that's where I imagine that people lose confidence and trust in the police.
Every process, Timothy, of course, you have one or two complaints. But generally, I believe that I know that we seek to act expeditiously because we're very much concerned. You speak of the confidence, the lack of, or the loss of confidence of the public in the police. I and the rest of the team are very much concerned about turning over that impression into absolute confidence in the police. So you may find some delay. I started speaking of maybe an informal approach to dealing with a complaint by a member of the public against a police officer. That would be handled more expeditiously as against you going through the entire or the official process of discipline, which would require more in-depth investigations, documents being produced, presented, and the orderly room hearing. So that would be longer and more drawn out as compared to having an informal process where the individual is brought forth. Myself as a commander, for example, have an engagement with that individual and try to resolve the matter.
There's one issue that we have to discuss, but we'll take a break. It has to do with the disappearance of one Michael Blaze, also known as Coco or Coco Boy. He was in police custody. He was released, and that was in the year 2019, and he is yet to be found. You're watching NewsMaker Live. We'll discuss that in just a moment. And also, we will be taking your calls, so please stand by. My guest this evening is acting ACP with responsibility for the Southern Division, Stephen Victorin. Stay with the broadcast.
I, Philip Joseph here. I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Thank you so much for staying with the broadcast. You're watching NewsMaker Live on DBS Television. We are also on Facebook. We'll put a telephone number on screen now so that you can call with your questions and comments for my guest. Acting ACP with responsibility for the Southern Division, he is Stephen Victorin. Officer, before we took the break, I made reference to an incident which occurred in the year 2019. An individual arrested on the 22nd of November of 2019, and he was released on the 24th, and up to now he cannot be located. That individual is Michael Blaze, also known as Coco or Coco Boy. He was released from the police custody from the Choiseul police station. As far as you're aware, police are still investigating this particular matter?
Yes, the matter is still open. In fact, the Major Crimes Unit has conduct of that investigation, and as far as I know, it is still open.
But this is very strange. I mean, shouldn't be this subjected to some thorough investigation? This might be one of our many cold cases in St. Lucia.
Yes, I agree. I mean, any individual missing is a brother, a son, maybe a father to someone, and it requires the best efforts of the police. So we do agree on that.
People are suspicious, I'm sure, that they have this suspicion. I mean, we can't convict anyone based on a suspicion or based on a hunch. I mean, but what you say to people that even outside of an investigation, and you say that police are still investigating, still concerned, etc., that the police, they have a lot of questions to answer. How can you take somebody into custody, claim, I'm just saying, because we have no evidence of, do we have any evidence of this? No, I don't think. Once again, we await your calls. We have the telephone number on screen that you can call with your questions and comments for my guest. Once again, the officer in charge of the Southern Division, Acting ACP Stephen Victorin. So you in particular, in the southern part of the island, if you have any questions, any queries, you want to make a comment, you have a comment that you want to share, with the wider audience, or you want to ask a question to the ACP, you are free to do so. Right now, we go up until 10 o'clock this evening. You also have activities relating to Police Week. Is this a national event, observance, or it is confined to the southern part of the island?
No, Timothy, it is Police Week, as in Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Police Week 2026. The activities have been ongoing, but we're approaching, well, it's becoming more intense. We had the road relay held in the south recently, and the police sports meet just last Friday was held at the mini stadium in Soufrière. I must commend the St. Lucia Fire Service. They won that road relay, which was along the V4 circuit from the police station around through Sandy Beach, Binfield, along V4 Highway and back to the V4 police station. Fire Service won that event. The sports meet, which was held at the mini stadium in Soufrière, we had 4 teams from within the police service participating. So you had the operational unit. We had North, Central, and Southern divisions.
Hold on, I think we have a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Yes, good night.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. I was listening to the dialogue, and I have some concern on what was, narrated. And I'm saying that because I have my own situation, whereby we know that there is a gap of trust between the public and the police. And there are good police officers, in my opinion, who would stand to the oath, while there are others who are on the opposite end. The reason why I'm saying that is because I discovered my vehicle stolen on the 12th of May 2023. God led me to my vehicle on the 8th of April 2025 at a certain establishment. I followed the law. I did what was right. I followed every step that as abiding citizens I should. And you know what, Timothy? Up to now, no one has been charged. And the ironic thing is, my vehicle chassis number was cut out, replaced, no engine number. Somebody was driving my vehicle, and that person has not been charged. No one has been charged. Nothing has been done. I've run over 20 times inquiring about the status of my case. You know what I've been given? A lot of linguistic gymnastics. And I hate to say it, but they are liared police officers. And I know I went even to speak Mr. Victorin. I quite certainly may remember me. I spoke with him. I wouldn't disclose our conversation. But I've been trying over a year. My vehicle, I noticed I passed at the police station, Grosley police station. There was a gathering there. I observed with my eyes. A tent was there, a gathering there, and my vehicle in police custody was being used, in my opinion, as a makeshift table. I cried. My vehicle stayed in police custody for over a year. It was towed to the police. I saw it. I saw my vehicle on the 8th of April 2025. It was towed to the police station on the 9th of April 2025. Timothy, would you believe it? My vehicle was returned to me in a vandalized condition on the 8th of April 2026 after up, down, wrong. And when I inquire, no one has been charged. To add insult to injury, a corporal called me after my vehicle was vandalized, asking me to return the vandalized wheels to Grosley police station. I have made 2 formal complaints. No one contacted me. No one said anything. I am frustrated. However, I am trusting by God's appropriate that seeing I have this opportunity for the whole public to hear what I have experiencing, that something would eventually be done according to established laws of St. Lucia. One other thing, Timothy, after my vehicle was stolen, I was refused twice by the investigating officer to record my statement. He refused to take my statement. And I will quote what he said: "When I am ready, I will call you." Now, with me having that experience, it's very difficult for me to trust law enforcement. Some of them are very, very good in doing their job. However, those rogue ones, I think a law has to be set that when you find them, you really deal with them accordingly, because they have taken an oath, and they must live up to the oath that they have taken. You cannot do that to someone. My vehicle has been stolen, replaced, the chassis number has replaced. I hand over my keys, my remote opening and close my vehicle. Yet I have to wait over a year before I could get my vehicle.
What is the reason for the delay in handing the vehicle back to you?
There is no explanation. When I go and I inquire, I will quote what I've been told. The matter is under investigation, and I said within 2 days I could have found out all my information. It's still under investigation. No one has been charged. So it seems to me there is a new thing in St. Lucia that if you are found with a stolen vehicle, you will not be charged. You can walk free. There's a warrant for the fellow who took off his chassis number and put it on my vehicle. They have the most I've seen that what they have done, they put a warrant out for him, and that's it. But what I've done, I've documented everything, I recorded everything, because I'm waiting patiently, because I know lies will be coming. And my phone is a silent witness that doesn't lie. As soon as I saw my vehicle, I gathered information. I run Grosley Police Station up and down, and I was keeping tabs on my vehicle. So when my vehicle was removed from one position to the other, I noticed all tires flat. I knew what they were doing to me. I said nothing. All I've done is have my evidence against them, and I'm waiting patiently. Tomorrow I will be going to various places to file my complaint, because it's over a year I have been trying to have a conversation with the Commissioner of Police, and all I'm given is linguistic gymnastics. Up to now, I cannot see for over a year. They take your name, you would be told that I will call you. I'm still waiting for a call after a year. I've gone all over. Every step I've done follow the laws of St. Lucia. But, as I said, it is what it is. Because when the corporal called me, I said, what happened to that guy that have my vehicle? That y'all caught with my vehicle? You hear his words to me, and I can narrate. I will deal with him. And he's asking me to return vandalized wheels of my vehicle to Grosley Police Station so he can return it to the individual, because according to his narrative, those were not the wheels on my vehicle when it was stolen. The person put on those wheels to facilitate sale. There are a lot more than that, and I have every evidence. I don't know what will happen. I've listened to what Mr. Victorin said. I said nothing. I'm not saying anything. I'm just putting out my story and fit my story into what was said, and a lot of tailoring may have to be done.
Okay, ma'am.
I try to come on your show, Timothy, because I have everything there. I spoke to a high official. I asked him if he wants to see my phone to see the evidence. His words to me were, and I quote, "I don't want to see it."
So let's allow Mr. Victorin to respond, if he's in a position to. Thank you so much for calling, ma'am.
Pardon?
And thank you so much for calling us. Here's hoping that your matter will be satisfactorily resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Officer Victorin, what say you, sir?
Yes, so I realized that the caller spoke of a warrant being issued for the arrest of the individual who is suspected of having stolen the vehicle. I am assuming that's a warrant of arrest. And if such is the case, it means that a warrant amounts to a matter being before the court.
Okay, hold that point there, because we have another call. My apologies to you. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good evening. Good
Hi.
evening, Tim.
Good evening to you, caller.
Mr. Victorin, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yes, so Mr. Victorin, 60 years back, I think we had a better St. Lucia, you know. 60 years back. I heard people say development comes with crime. Is that the case? Or one of the problems we're facing, you know, the officers that we have today, when you make a report to them, they give you a lot of lip service. We have a lot of good officers that prepared to work for St. Lucia. But out of that, you could choose them maybe on 10 fingers, 10 on your hands. You could choose those officers. You understand? It is a crying shame. You go to the office of the SSU. I'm not talking about those that are there now or those that were there before or those, but the SSU. And you sit there and you making a report and you become the victim because you stay there and you spend almost 3-4 hours to give a report. And then they're going to tell you, I'm going to call you back. And you never have a call from them. This is one of the things that we have had for the last 20 years. Criminals realize that they can get away with crime because they figure to themselves, we cannot be arrested by any police officer because there is a technicality in getting away. So these are the problems that our people and people like me facing. You made a statement a few minutes back that about the drugs, right? The mind-altering substance could lead a lot of young people because they're numb towards any movements that they want to do, right? The drugs, do we manufacture the hash in Lucia or that imported? And if it is imported, somebody in the higher grounds are getting paid somewhere. Because you cannot tell me I can go to the ghetto. Tonight, I could leave my home, not only the ghetto, I could go to the city. I could go anywhere in St. Lucia and get my drug of choice. And the police can't get it. The officers cannot get it. If I want cocaine to smoke now, sir, now as I'm speaking to you, I can get it. If I want crack now, I, as a victim of this thing, sir, I can remember going to buy crack and there was a police officer in the bedroom sleeping. Because I am a recovering addict for 42 years now. I'm not giving you DC. I'm giving you the facts. So but I always say to people, what goes around come back around to haunt us. It comes back straight in our bedroom. The police officers that are allowing it. The police officers that, making those opportunities available for our young people. Have you walked the street of Castro, sir? And see our young brothers walking on the behind from the top of Lapanse to the city, searching for drugs? Emancipation is over. That is slavery, Chief. That is slavery. We, our people, enslaving our young children. I have a young boy that is actually working with me. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my utmost best to assist him. He's actually losing his mind. He's a brother of a police officer. And I'm trying my best. And he's running away every time because he wants his drug. How can we help our brothers if we, at the top level, sir, do not stop them from importing it or get a new method of going around and get the drugs off the street so we can save our children, we could save our black brothers in this country. Sir, the police force need to stand up and do what they're supposed to do to save St. Lucia. We St. Lucians need the police force to save our children. Have a nice night, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for calling. Your reaction to the contribution, sir?
Yeah, so I noticed one of the comments the caller made is that he observed a police officer in a compromising position, if I may use that term. And I think that's one of the pleas I presented earlier, that we need the support of the public. If you recognize that the ill is happening, you need to share it, that some action can be taken. And that's often you find that members of the public notice police officers behaving in a manner unbecoming, and they say nothing about it.
Maybe it's because of lack of trust in the police.
I also believe that you will actually be helping that police officer to deal with the problem before it gets to a situation beyond control.
We have a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Bonsoir, Timothy.
Hi, bonsoir. Acting ACP Victorin, yes.
Merci, bonsoir.
Yoba mota avoudwe mande soya. Nou te we en parlement yo bay pouvoir pour comme yon zons marijuana pour ça servi et kola qui parle à prix monnaie. Moi t'en voy la peine, moi t'en voy un homme qui ni un désir pour bailler doit être ici. Pour moi, ça c'est un bail moins hope. Nous te ça ni à baweg. Quand nous avons à présent, mon jusqu'à filmer comme si tu veux filmer being out of style. Ou man jusqu'à ou qu'à passer, ou quand même filmer un visage tout bail comme ça. Moi ça loi c'est pour protéger et des situations. Mais pour moi, avec la mode des questions ça, est-ce que l'égalité pour pour filmer?
What is yonzons in English? What's that?
1 ounce.
An ounce, okay.
It's actually 30.
Yeah, 30 grams. Yeah.
Okay, so how many questions are so ça te bail parce que nous avons un chat moun kani ça trop several d'histoire chat ces jeunes moun là associé mais several d'histoire jeune femme several d'histoire est-ce nous avons un analysis qui a regardé qui ça qui cause ces bail ça c'est qualité c'est drogue ça et de l'autre bail qui fait ces bail ça arriver. Merci chat.
Okay, caller. Thank you so much. What's here to this, sir?
I think what he's suggesting that the fact that the possession of a certain
30 grams.
quantity, 30 grams in this case, has contributed to the proliferation of drug use. I have a reserved opinion on that, or should I say a contrary opinion, because I don't think coming into possession of 40 grams of cannabis has been difficult. I think 40 grams of cannabis is readily available within the state. So that is my opinion, that I don't think it has contributed significantly to, the intensity, because based on my conversation with or interaction, the police interaction with some of those, if I may call them victims, at this point I think it's fair to call them victims. Cannabis is not the drug that they use which causes or contributes to
it might be something else. Okay.
They usually speak of something else, not cannabis.
All right, we have a call. Good evening to you. Thanks for holding on. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Oui, monsieur, bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Oui, moi, est-ce un pays c'est ici, police qui a protégé si un monde fait un bagay, ben yo un bagay, est-ce que vous pouvez protéger comme la loi?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oui.
Merci.
Okay, so is he asking if someone reports
The crime, whether they're getting protection.
they get protection? Okay, so it depends on how he first was. Is it as an independent witness, just an informant? If it is as a victim, that you actually need to give evidence in court, your identity will not exactly remain anonymous because the law provides that the accuser must face the accused.
Right.
So evidence will have to be given in court. But as an anonymous informant, we have the police hotline and the crime hotline app, which allows you to provide information to the police without disclosing your identity.
We have a call. Good evening. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Poleon and Mr. Victorin.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Victorin.
Yes, sir.
The question was asked, but you responding and I'm not hearing what you're saying.
Which question?
You're speaking between your teeth and the thing about the contribution of the legalization of the decriminalization in relation to what is going on in the country as far as its negative impact on the people, on the youth. Yeah, you are saying something, but I'm not hearing anything. I haven't heard anything. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you speak a little louder.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
The other thing I want to say again, no, thank for what?
Go ahead, caller, go ahead.
What I'm saying, Mr. Victorin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the 40 ounce has been decriminalized by the state.
30 grams.
40 grams, 40 grams. Yeah, 1 ounce. But what I noticed, well, the people are still being harassed by those who are there to protect and to serve. You know what I mean? Because you having 40 grams and even less than 40 grams, and when there is a roadblock, the police will take it from the people. And what they've been saying in terms of after the people query about it is that is what the Prime Minister says. But they just do not want that in the country. That the officers. That's what their responses, you know, man. So I just want to hear whether the law of the state is being disregarded by the officers that are there to protect and to serve. You understand? You know, because that is what that was said in the parliament, and it is law right now. 40 grams, you could have it in your possession. There are people with less than 40 grams, and sometimes the police just in the roadblock just take it away from them. You know, and the police should not take it from them. They should allow them with it. I don't know if it's because they do not have a scale to weigh instantly, and why they found it on the people, or they do not have an idea as to what is 40 grams.
Okay, caller. Let me allow the officer to react.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother Poleon.
Yes, sir.
Brother Victorin.
Thank you.
Speak a little louder, my brother.
All right, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And households allowed legally to grow up to four cannabis plants for personal use. But anyway, your reaction to the comment made by the previous caller.
Yes, so he expressed that the police takes possession of
the 30 grams.
Under 30 grams of cannabis. I mean, I cannot speak of it, but if the police notices that the amount is beyond 30...
How do you determine the amount? Do they wait? Just gauge it?
Again, I mean, you can... It depends. I mean, you can look at a portion because the officers have executed arrests, have gone back to the police station and weighed amounts, so they should be able to estimate.
Right.
Having received a portion, estimate whether it exceeds what they would have encountered, having weighed it. So I would think that the police would have acted based on the experience, the past experience. They guided by that, even though a scale might not have been available. Of course, that would be the ideal, that the scale is available, that the individual can see the amount being weighed and recognize that it exceeds the 30 grams.
You have a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good night.
Hello, good evening to you,
Good
caller.
night.
Hi, good night, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I listened in to Mr. Victorin and Timothy, and I want to just say that I am one of those persons who have the utmost confidence in the police. However, experience has taught me differently. Right? I was involved in an accident close to about a year, and up to now, I am awaiting a police report. And not just that, the police informed me that I was wrong in the accident. Upon requesting for the report, I was told that nobody, when I went back to the police, nobody was liable in the accident. So as much as persons want to have faith in the police, as much as persons are interested in listening to sometimes what the police have to say, most of the time the police does not give anybody any faith in them because of how they in this situation. And upon request and asking, it's always an excuse. It's always the officer is not there, the investigator officer is not there. Out. And so I want to ask how long does it take? How long does it take for somebody to get a police report? And on top of that, I informed the officer that I had I wanted to go to court, and I suspect the matter was deliberately not lodged before the court because I don't know what Coco Macaque that went on with the other driver and the officer. So I just want to say that as much as persons want to trust the police, they make it difficult sometimes. Very difficult sometimes, and like one.
Okay, caller. All right, thank you so much. Okay, I'm sure that you're familiar with this. People are complaining about the delay in receiving a police report. Why can't this be attended to?
Okay, so yes, it is a complaint that comes before us.
For years now?
For years now. And the police is working diligently in improving the turnover time for production of those reports. You'll appreciate that, I mean, there are many of those incidents, and the caller expressed that the investigator told her that no one is culpable in a collision. But irrespective of no one being culpable, that does not take away from the fact a police report is a police report. Irrespective of him thinking that she's wrong or right, he is not the final arbiter of who is wrong or right. What is required to do is to produce the file and channel it to his supervisor to the point that it may get to the court if there is need or enough evidence for it to be so that it gets to the court and allow a magistrate to decide.
I imagine, officer, the people are just hoping, and realistically so, that after hearing complaint after complaint on a particular issue, that somehow somebody will be convinced that there is need to give serious attention to that particular problem. It appears that instead of you complain about something, and rest assured it will not be attended to. But anyway, any reaction to this? Again, you have made your point about the police report, right? The police report issue.
Well, I agree. I agree there is need for improvement in the turnover time of those police reports.
That will do it for our calls. Let's take the final comments from you. Acting ACP Stephen Victorin.
Yes, so my final comment, it relates, well, I want to first present some achievements that we realized in the past few weeks as it relates to frequent incidents of burglary and attempted burglary we had within the Southern Division. So between the period 1st April to 9th of August, we had a number of incidents of burglary and aggravated burglary occurring between Savans Bay in VA4 all the way across to Soufrière. So every district between VA4 and Soufrière was impacted by those incidents. Some of those incidents, the occupants of the property burgled were injured by the perpetrators of those incidents. I want to share some statistics with you. VA4 over that period recorded 23 cases. Of those 23, 5 of them have been solved, meaning individuals arrested, charged, mostly remanded to custody, having brought to the court. Labrie recorded 16 incidents. Of those, 5 are solved. Choiseul recorded 16 incidents. 8 of those are solved. Soufrière, 27 incidents. 5 are solved. So that's a total of 82 incidents, and 33 of those have been solved, totaling about 40%. A little over 40% of those matters have been solved. And this is work which happened over a period of about 2 weeks that the police was able to solve those burglaries. I must commend my team. I would like to single out Sergeant Peter, who led a team which was put together to deal with that problem. So thank you very much for your effort and dedication. I must also thank members of the public. Without them, the success could not have been realized. So I'd like to reassure them that the police is committed and dedicated to exhausting every effort to creating a safer environment for all members of our community. So hats off to you for your support, and we look forward to our continued collaboration.
Thank you so much, Acting ACP Stephen Victorin, Officer in Charge of the Southern Division, for being my guest on this evening's NewsMaker Live. And to you, as always, thank you so much for watching and listening and contributing via your calls. If it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked.
Han, come and take off my skirt.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Come on, Han. Come and take off my skirt.
I'm busy right now.
Take off my skirt, Gerald!
So selfish.
And as a broadcast, thank you so much for watching and listening to another edition of NewsMaker Live right here on DBS Television. My name is Timothy Poleon, saying good night and see you next time.
I, Philip Joseph here. I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
Basel 11 has not been in existence. 50 was...
Giant getting bazooka, spraying big on to knock out mosquitoes.
I have never had a joint account with anybody in my life. Not my ex-wife, not my children, nobody. And I will refer that to the Privileges Committee.
What about the culture of people getting into office and not being effective? What people become Prime Minister of St. Lucia have been the most ready.
Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.